Okay, first public safety press briefing of the new year, as I promised 4 years ago. First one took place, I believe it was like January 4th or 5th of 2022. So it's hard to believe that it's been 4 years. Let me just thank everyone for being here for the first update of 2026 and the first one of my second term. Again, before I get started, I want to continue to ask that the community pray for our officers that are recovering from the shooting that took place just before the holiday in December. We are grateful that they are all out of the hospital, but they continue to recover. I ask for your continued prayer. I also want to thank all of our first responders, as well as our snow plow drivers that did an excellent job working 24-hour shifts, moving that snow away. And I also just want to point out to people, all schools are open, with the exception of the Rochester City School District. So if you can please remind folks that from 12 to 7, I am opening all of our R centers. So all of our R centers are open from 12 to 7 to make sure that parents have a place to send their kids and that they can get lunch, dinner, and snacks. So we're here today to check in on our progress from 2025 for all of our public safety. And I'm joined by Police Chief David Smith, Corporation Counsel Patrick Beef, Office of Violence Prevention Zeke Tukes, Commissioner of Recreation and Human Services Shirley Green, and Fire Chief Stefano Napolitano. Before I go into our public safety numbers related to violence and guns and all that good stuff, I want to start off with our fire chief giving an update on where we are with fire. Chief.
Thank you, Your Honor. As we close out the year, the Rochester Fire Department is proud to report another year of dedicated service to our community. In total, Rochester Fire responded to 41,532 service requests, representing a 5.5% increase over the previous year and reflecting on the growth demands placed on our department. Of those responses, 420 were working structure fires, and through the skill, coordination, and professionalism of our firefighters, we protected more than $574 million of property from damage. Medical emergencies continue to be a significant part of our mission, with 20,868 assistance called, handled by our personnel across the city. Our commitment to readiness and excellence remains a top priority. Our members completed 149,169 hours of professional development and skill competency training, ensuring that we are prepared to meet both the routine and the complex emergencies that our members face on a daily basis. In 2025, the Rochester Fire Department also achieved a significant milestone with its reaccreditation of a Type 4 urban search and rescue team by the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control. This designation reflects the department's advanced capabilities in complex rescue operations, including structural collapse incidences, trench rescue, swift water rescue, and severe weather events. We continue to strengthen our ranks by welcoming 27 new probationary firefighters, investing in the future of our department and the safety of our residents. Additionally, fire prevention and investigation efforts remain critical. Our fire investigation unit investigated 231 incendiary fires, working closely with our emergency service partners to determine cause and enhance accountability. Meanwhile, our line division conducted 4,780 inspections and installed 735 smoke detectors and 596 carbon monoxide detectors, helping prevent tragedies before they occur. Our community engagement remains a cornerstone of our work. Through our community risk reduction program, we delivered 220 fire safety programs, touching over 6,000 individuals and educating them on how to keep themselves safe. Finally, Rochester Fire is expanding drone program proved to be a valuable asset this year, supporting operations at several major incidences and by enhancing situational awareness and firefighter safety. These accomplishments collectively reflect professionalism, dedication, and resilience of the men and women of the Rochester Fire Department. We remain committed to protecting lives, property, and the well-being of our community as we move into the year ahead. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for all the work that you're doing. And I want to just say that our strategy from day one is still our strategy today: prevention, intervention, and suppression as it relates to violence. As you know, our gun violence continued to fall year after year, quarter after quarter, and that was the same last year. We saw some incremental improvements in the beginning, right? 2022, 23, but we wanted to see those numbers fall faster. And as you know, we didn't have a magic potion. We didn't have a single solution that would bring gun violence under control in one fell swoop. And lots of painful things that we witnesses. And as I said, one homicide is too many, but we said prevention, intervention, and suppression was going to be what we were going to focus on. So as of the end of 2025, almost all of our gun violence metrics had fallen to their lowest point since 2018, a full 2 years before the pandemic. And compared to 2021, the first full year of the pandemic and the peak for gun violence, those metrics fell by almost 60%. Shooting incidences over the past 5 years fell 58%. The number of shooting victims went down by 60%, and fatal shootings fell by 58%. And total homicides fell by 58% from a staggering 85 killings in 2021 to 36 in 2025. And our rolling 365 shooting count, which is what I look at, which measures shootings for a full year period that ends each day, fell below 180 in September of last year, and for the first time since before the pandemic. And it has remained below that threshold ever since. And as I said, I'm gratified by these numbers. I'm gratified because they tell us our strategy is working. And more importantly, I'm gratified because these trend lines give us a high degree of confidence that these numbers will continue to fall even more. But as I said, I am not satisfied. I'm not satisfied because no level of gun violence is satisfactory and will never be acceptable. Someone asked me, and you can ask me this question all you want. The Democrat and Chronicle did a story on the gun violence emergency. I think they were trying to find people that were opposed to it. It's hard to find people. And the reason why is because there is no acceptable level of gun violence. So I want to give you this answer. You might ask when we're going to stop the gun violence emergency. Here's your answer: when our numbers mirror what the numbers are in Pittsford. When the numbers mirror what they are in Pittsford, that's when we'll stop the gun violence emergency. So I ask you, what level of gun violence is acceptable to you? Is there an acceptable level in Rochester or an urban environment because it's an urban environment and it's Rochester? My answer to you is there is no acceptable level. In last month's shootings, of those 3 officers offered a reminder in the starkest of terms that gun violence still threatens innocent people. It was the starkest reminder that too many people only know how to settle disputes with violence, and too many of those disputes take place among domestic partners. And the presence of illegal guns on the street turns too many of those violent disputes into catastrophic, irreversible results. Now, before I turn this over to the members of our senior management team, I'd be remiss to remind everyone that public safety isn't limited to violent crime and gun violence. We held 2 news conferences last week that underscore that fact. The announcement that we concluded that the warning period of the school bus safety program, that's public safety. And the release of our first ROC Vision Zero progress report, That's public safety. Anybody who is interested to learn more about those developments can find those news releases and links to the video on our website. This weekend snowstorm also provides a reminder that our frontline workers and those working against the snow, our plow drivers, also play a critical role in public safety, and I'm grateful for those work as well. Now I'm going to turn it over to members of my senior management team to talk more about the work that we have ahead this year, as well as the numbers of where we ended last year. And I'm going to start with Chief Smith. Chief Smith.
Thank you, Mayor. 2025 was a very busy but also difficult year for the RPD. As the mayor mentioned, thankfully, all three of our officers who were shot in December are out of the hospital and continue to improve. But those three officers were three out of more than 180 officers injured on the job in 2025. I'm also happy to report that violent crime continues to drop. As the mayor mentioned, homicides dropped for the fourth year in a row. They dropped to 36 last year compared to 85 in 2021 and 47 last year. 23 of these homicides were firearm related, which is a 47% drop from our 5-year average. Already at a 72% closure rate for 2025, we have several more additional arrests pending for homicides. As far as non-fatal shootings, our number of shooting victims dropped in 2025 to 162 from our high of 419 in 2021. And for comparison, we had 206 in 2024. Our non-fatal shooting unit, again, which is a unit that we piloted as part of our GIVE project with New York State, continues to thrive with a closure rate of approximately 50% in 2025. And again, I remind you, nationwide, the solvability rate for non-fatal shootings is usually in the area of 10 to 14%. Our non-fatal shooting unit solvability rate does continue to increase. Again, in 2024, it was 40%, and the year before that, it was 30%. We continue to have success in our targeted areas that we work. For example, the Scioto and Weld Street area. Over the last several years, Clinton section coordinated what we call a case of place response due to repeated acts of gunfire and neighborhood complaints. There were 5 people shot there in 2022 and 6 in 2023. A case of place response doesn't just look at offenders in a specific area, but also looks at the area itself. We try to do analysis of locations, lighting, environmental design, and other factors that drive the violence. This case of place investigation was a collaborative effort with our other partners in the community, such as the Lewis Street YMCA, the New Bethel CME Church, Delta Sonic Car Wash, and other neighbors and partners in that area. The success of this case of place response and the collaborative work so far has led to no one having been shot in the Scioto Weld area in 2024 or 2025. Last year, actually beginning in 2024, but we completed rolling out the program in 2025, was our Leave Behind Naloxone program. At the end of 2024, we began the program by distributing naloxone or Narcan kits to high-risk individuals. In 2025, I'm happy to say we distributed over 1,600 kits in our community. We also continue our gun-involved violence elimination program with New York State. As part of that is our Cobra Patrol initiative, which again is our patrols on targeted street segments. And I remind you, the data shows us that citywide, if you look at the city, we've divided the city into approximately 10,000 street segments. We were then able to say that 100% of our gunfire occurs in only about 16 of those segments, 16% of those segments. So using our evidence-based policing strategy, we conduct proactive patrols in that 16%. This includes a heavy emphasis on simply getting out of the car and walking. In 2025, we conducted over 12,000 of these directed foot patrols and proactive assignments, mostly in our 37 targeted area covering 96 city blocks. This led to an approximate 37% reduction in gunfire in our top street segments from the year before, compared to a 30% drop citywide. For 2026, where are we going moving forward? We're going to continue our emphasis on our non-fatal shooting program. Our closure rates are still increasing. We are working diligently to increase them even more. We are also placing more of an emphasis in 2026 on our domestic violence responses. In 2025, we had the following. We had 4 domestic-related homicides. We had 14 officers injured during domestic incidents, including 3 shot and 1 seriously injured after his police car was intentionally rammed by the suspect. We completed over 5,536 domestic incidents reports in 2025. 3,372 of those were domestic-related criminal offenses. So in mid-2025, we introduced and began the STRIVE program. It stands for Statewide Targeted Reductions in Intimate Partner Violence. This program focuses on improving responses to domestic and intimate partner violence by enhancing collaboration between law enforcement, courts, probation, and other service providers, such as our partners at Willow. The idea is to improve survivor safety, offender accountability, and coordinated community response using evidence-based strategies. We have a full-time coordinator who started a few months ago for STRIVE, and an analyst who starts this week. We have already had several success stories. At the beginning of November, we had an incident in which an ex-boyfriend broke into the female victim's home, hit her with a handgun, strangled her, bit her. Through STRIVE, we immediately put together a detail and apprehended this offender within days. At the time of his arrest, he had a handgun and drugs on his person. Through our interagency cooperation, we learned that he was instructing others to go to the victim's home on his behalf. Utilizing our partners at Willow, the STRIVE program was able to get the victim safely relocated before anything else could happen, and as I said, take this dangerous offender into custody. 20 we'll see our continuation of the bus patrol program, which again just went live, issuing $250 citations to folks who pass our school buses. So far, the program is issuing hundreds of violations per day, hundreds, and that's just in the city of Rochester with city school buses. We're also busy, diligently planning for the summer, for all the summer events and festivals that our city sees, for making sure everyone is safe and everything goes off without a hitch. So thank you, and with that, I will turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you. I really hope that you got a flavor for the challenges that we continue to face with domestic violence, which overlaps with the violent numbers that we see in our community. And STRIVE will be what GIVE was for us as it relates to gun violence. We will use STRIVE as a way to drive down domestic violence incidences. We can't tolerate this in our community, and those numbers should be a call to action for all of us in the community. You're next going to hear from Patrick Beath. The law department continued to use the gun violence state of emergency throughout 2025 to regulate properties that could become crime scenes because they couldn't control their clientele. And we'll continue this work in 2026. And to speak to that briefly, I'll have Corporation Counsel Patrick Beath come say a few words.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning, everybody. I'll be brief. As the mayor said, we still make use of the mayor's gun violence emergency to intervene in locations where we see violence, to shut them down immediately so that they cool off and we can end that violence before it happens again. In 2024, we issued closure orders on 12 properties. In 2025, that was on 15 properties. So far in 2026, we've used a closure order on 1 property. We, of course, hope to be able to use these less and less, but we're going to respond as we have to as violence happens. I also just note that the law department, in addition to coordinating with the RPD on these violence situations, the fire chief spoke about vacant buildings and fires. We also coordinate with code enforcement to make sure that vacant buildings, if the property owners are not keeping them adequately boarded, that the city is doing the same for the protection of our communities. Thanks very much. Mayor?
Thank you, Patrick. Next up, I want to bring up Zeke Tooks, who will talk about the work of the Office of Violence Prevention. They've got some exciting initiatives coming up this year, and especially when it comes to helping young people who've been caught up in the criminal justice system. And a lot of these numbers that you see are because of our work with young people. You can go back and look at the number of young people involved in violence in 2022, and the subsequent years, it continued to drop because we have a focus on our young people, and particularly a focus on making sure that they are involved in meaningful activities. So with that, I'll turn it over to Zeke. Zeke?
Thank you, Mayor. This year, the Office of Violence Prevention will continue to build on the progress we've made over the years. That means being in the schools, being in the neighborhoods, and showing up during and after moments of crisis. It also means staying connected to the people, listening, and making sure that our work and our programs reflect what the community needs. I want to speak briefly today about our programs and what that looks like. Pathways to Peace will continue to be the cornerstone of that effort through street outreach, school support. We are in 9 schools. Through school support, follow-up services, they meet people where they are and they help stabilize situations way before they become bigger. Their presence matters, their consistency matters, and you can see that impact when you come in contact with a young person who feels supported, respected, and they feel not forgotten based on those efforts of Pathways to Peace. Advanced Peace, one of our other programs in the Office of Violence Prevention, this program is moving strong. We're closing out on our cohort 3, and we're working with our cohort 4. Again, this program is an 18-month program. This program works with individuals who carry lived experience with gun violence, whether that's through involvement or through actual impact. This work is about growth, accountability, and real opportunity. Some of the things that you see here that we do with this program, just very multi-layered. We have a wraparound support approach that we have with this program. We do our Choose Wisdom job fairs. We had one that was 2 Saturdays ago. That was an amazing job fair. And again, that job fair was intended to support our individuals who are in our community, who may be just as involved, who have that low work experience, and who may find it difficult to find employment. So our Choose Wisdom job fairs, we will have those quarterly, and just be on the lookout for that information as the year goes on. We're also very excited to talk about our partnership with Breathe Deep. Mental health and wellness are critical to the people that we serve. This partnerships allow us to connect participants with the right counseling and support, making sure their well-being isn't an afterthought, but a foundation to their stability and progress. So connecting young people, our participants, with mental health support is absolutely public safety. At the end of the day, our focus is simple. We build relationships, we're building trust, we're expanding our partnerships, increasing our visibility, and keeping our city moving forward together. As the mayor has mentioned, this effort is an effort that belongs to all of us. It's truly a shared effort, and I'm truly proud of the work that the Office of Violence Prevention is doing and what we will continue to do for 2026. Thank you.
Thank you, Zeke. Thank you for all your work. We have a very busy year ahead in terms of the preventive aspect. As I said, the way to keep young people out of trouble is to keep them busy, making them so tired that they don't have time to be able to get in trouble. And the Department of Recreation and Human Services is extremely busy and has a busy year. And to speak more about that, the Commissioner of the Department of Recreation and Human Services, Dr. Shirley Green.
Thank you, Mayor. At the Department of Recreation and Human Services, we are extremely proud of our role in the strategy Mayor Evans spoke of regarding prevention and intervention. And we're also incredibly happy to see that within the reduction in violence that the mayor spoke of, violence among young people is on the decline, especially firearm violence. We want parents and caregivers to know that one of the best ways to help their kids stay safe and prepared to become successful adults is to participate in the many programs we have to offer, especially at our recreation centers. Winter programming at the recreation centers is now underway. This includes hundreds of after-school programs at the city recreation centers that keep our youth physically active, mentally engaged, and emotionally supported in the presence of caring adults. That includes homework help and study work. And when schools are closed for February recess next month, the rec centers will convert to daytime programming. Children will be served breakfast and lunch. I do want to give a special shout out to the recreation center staff and workers who were available yesterday at Jackson Recreation Center, Ryan Recreation Center, and Edgerton during yesterday's snow day to make sure that children had a place to go while their parents needed to be at work. We also want to thank our partners at FoodLink for providing hot meals to the children who visited the rec centers. Looking ahead to 2026 is going to be an exciting year in the city's rec. Among other things, we're going to open our very new Nature Center at Maplewood Park in the northwest section of the city, where we will be enhancing several of our playground features, after-school programs, and summer camps. These upgrades will really support our commitment to the Children's Outdoor Bill of Rights. We're also going to open our new esports gaming lounge at Jackson Rec Center. And on February 7th, in partnership with our colleagues at the library, the mayor will be hosting Mayor's Madden Esports Invitational at Central Library on South Avenue. We also continue to partner with the Center for Youth to provide mental health counseling services in the recreation centers. And this year, we're going to build on that partnership by taking 80 young people on a bus tour of historically Black colleges and universities. Why would you think that matters? Well, exposing our young people to new environments outside of their neighborhoods and the city and giving them reasons to get excited about their future is a great experience for them. Hope and opportunity. This will be in addition to the 25 young people who are part of Summer of Opportunity, who will also continue to travel at the HBCUs that they've been going for the last few years. The application period for summer job programs will be opening in February. Please be on the lookout for information. We have Biz Kids programs, for instance, and in February, we'll accept applications again for our Biz Kids, which is an entrepreneurial program. So we want the parents in our community to know DRIVES is in your corner. Visit us at www.cityofrochester.gov/recreation to see all the wonderful offerings we have to keep our young people engaged. And you heard the mayor say, if they're busy enough, they're too tired to get into mischievous behaviors. It all boils down to three things that every parent wants for their kids: physical activity, mental engagement, emotional support, all in the presence of caring adults. But like I always say, don't tell the kids our centers are good for them and keep them safe. Tell them they're places for them to have fun while learning when they don't even realize it. Back to the mayor.
Thank you. That's right, including the Madden tournament, February 7th. So anybody that wants to try to come take me on February 7th, are we doing that at Jackson?
Central Library.
Central Library. Central Library, February 7th, the mayor's annual Madden Invitational, the day before the Super Bowl. So we get a lot of young people that are interested in that. I've been doing that for a couple of years now, and it is very, very exciting. I just want to talk about one other thing, that the 58% decrease in homicides and fatal shootings, the Rochester Fire Department, along with our partners at AMR, deserve much of that credit. Our medical system has advanced along the years, and they provide critical emergency life support that prevents many shooting violent incidences from turning fatal. So I want to thank also our fire department on that end, as well as for AMR for their work. I often tell young people the only place success comes before work is in the dictionary. And as you can see, all of this that we are doing, it takes work. It takes constant work. It takes constant strategy, planning, and not just idle chatter or talk. It takes a lot of work, and I can't do this alone. I often say it's we, not me. And I want to thank all of our departments and our broader community for stepping up to helping us ensure our public safety. With that, I'll take any on-topic questions that you may have related to public safety. Questions?
Mayor, I'm wondering, when you're walking the streets, talking to people that you serve, statistics say one thing, but do they feel safer? What do you hear from them about the feel?
I think it depends on who you talk to. For example, if you say to someone and they were the victim of one of the shootings that you hear about in the city, of course they're not going to feel safe. They're going to feel some angst because they experience it, and your experience is your reality. But overall, people realize that the numbers are the numbers. So either you have 85 body bags in 1 year, and then you have 36. So the numbers tell the story, but they may not tell the feeling. And that is why it's important for us to continue our gun violence emergency, because we want to send the point that one shooting is too many, that one stabbing is too many, and that violence has no place in a civilized society. So that's why I always temper the successful numbers with being gratified but not satisfied. And I think people understand that, because if you're a victim of a homicide or you know someone who was recently shot, those numbers don't mean much to you, because you are either interacting with someone who has just been a victim of violence, or worse, coming away from a funeral from someone that may have seen a homicide. So it's important to remember that we always put these numbers in context, and it's why we don't celebrate and dance all around. What we do is pause and reflect on the progress that we made, because the progress fuels future progress. And it's undeniable that we have made great progress. We have almost cut homicides in half from where they were at the high point in 2022. So that's what's important for folks, and to make sure that we respect everybody's experience. Did you you must have didn't hear the answer to my question, my comment that I made earlier when I said I think it can be lifted, but my goal is that I want to make sure that the same number of shootings that they have in Pittsburgh, you know where that is? I want to make sure that Rochester mirrors those numbers. Then I'll think about lifting the state of emergency. So that's my barometer. My barometer is, I want everyone, when you think about gun violence, to ask yourself what level of shootings is acceptable. And more importantly, to Jen's question, if you're talking to someone who was just involved in a shooting or got shot, what level of shooting do you think that they would say is acceptable to them? So the message that I'm trying to make, and I'm not trying to be flip about this, is that we have to send a message in our community that no shooting is okay. And until we're able to do that as a society, we will continue to accept 20, 30, 40, 50 shootings. We shouldn't have them. There are countries around the world where they have no shootings. Vision Zero is one of our most ambitious programs. And that says that we want to have 0 crash deaths. Why can't we do the same thing for shootings?
I guess the question becomes, the use of the term gun violence emergency. Couldn't you just go to city council and ask for those powers in a way that could be correct versus having to have it be under emergency?
I think it's important because it's an emergency, because you probably don't know many people that have been shot, but to them, it's an emergency. To them, it's an emergency. I've known more homicide victims probably than everybody standing up here. That's an emergency. A mother that has to bury 1 or 2 kids, that's an emergency. A 14-year-old being blown away while he's going to the store to get noodles, that's an emergency. The number of individuals that we just laid out that were victims of domestic violence in which a gun was involved, that's an emergency. A woman that is trying to get away from somebody that they are intimately involved with and they put a gun in their mouth, I think that that's an emergency. And for too long in our communities, particularly urban areas, we have accepted 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 shootings and said that that's good enough. And what I'm saying is that we want to continue to make progress, but we're going to use every tool available to drive down the levels of violence till we don't have them anymore. And when you live in those environments, when you actually talk to people who don't feel that way, that's why we do this. For the person that you might talk to that say they don't feel safe, because they need to know that someone that understands where they're coming from and occupies the corner of City Hall gives a damn about their experience. But they also need to know that we are doing other things that are more than just focusing in on violence. And that's why you hear the preventative aspect here. Because the question is, what are we doing to prevent it? And you heard that. And that's what we're focused on. That's what we want to make sure that we do. But I want to say that we as a community, as a society, must not accept any violence, period. Any other questions?
Mayor, it's slightly different, but like, do you have any comments on because we're very public demonstrators. We're not like afraid of public demonstration in Rochester. We have to share protest. Do you have any comments on the violence in Minnesota?
The violence in Minnesota, I think, that's an off-topic question. Okay, so we'll go to off topics. So the question is about Minnesota. Let me say this, and you saw my statement yesterday. What you're seeing in Minnesota is an absolute abomination. As the chief executive officer of the city, the job of any law enforcement agency is not to turn the temperature up, it's to turn it down. And attitudes of individuals that operate are often a reflection of leadership. And what you see happening in Washington, D.C., although I think you're going to see the tide turn a little bit because of the brazen nature in which people are carrying out enforcement actions related to immigration, which, by the way, back in the day did not involve violence, so to speak. These were civil proceedings. Often, not most immigration cases are civil proceedings, right? Someone came into the country, they overstayed their visa, you set up and you do surveillance on them, and then you go to where they are and then you take them. You don't parade people through the streets. So what my colleague Mayor Fry is going through right now in Minnesota is absolutely ridiculous and an abomination, and we need immediate de-escalation. We need immediate de-escalation. When the stove is already hot and the water is boiling over, you don't go up and turn up the stove 2 or 3 more degrees. You turn it down. And one of the ways that you can turn it down, and one of the ways that we can turn it down in Minnesota right now, and I'll be with 200 mayors tomorrow. I'm supposed to be there today, but I'm here with all of you, is that we have called for the mayors across America, that urban cities, we've all put out statements. We have called for an immediate de-escalation of what we're seeing in Minnesota. And that is what needs to happen. These are American citizens. These are people that pay their taxes, and they should not feel as though they are in danger for exercising their constitutional right, regardless of if you agree with them. And this is not a political issue, it's a common sense issue. And any good law enforcement agency understands that. And the federal government might want, the federal government needs to turn the temperature down for the sake of our communities in which we live. Okay.
Are you pleased or satisfied with how the city agencies responded to the story?
Yes, I'm very pleased. And in fact, one of the things I'm very happy about, and one of the best practices is that I'm glad that I made the decision to declare a state of emergency early on Sunday. Because after I declared that state of emergency, you saw that caused a cascade of people canceling school. My kids were very happy that I declared the state of emergency early on. because many people take their clues from the city and us declaring a state of emergency. So when we do that, that gives other people cover to say, all right, the city's doing it, we're gonna cancel schools. But the reason why we do that selfishly is because it makes it so much easier for us to be able to plow the main arterials when we're able to do that without being prohibited by school buses and people being on the road. So that helped. The other thing I'll say is I always remind people that Rochester is only one of 3 cities that actually plow our sidewalks. No other cities, except for 3, plow their sidewalks. Remember, when we get over 3 or 4 inches, we use contractors, city crews to plow our sidewalks. So remember, it goes main arterials first, then side streets, then sidewalks. And I think that we did a good job considering all that we were contending with. I am still very concerned about the cold because the snow won't melt as fast, and that creates hazardous conditions when snow melts over. And I want to remind everybody, please make sure that you're checking in on your neighbors, and please make sure that you are checking in on those that might be homebound, disabled, or the elderly.
Did you get a lot of complaints from people about the side streets, already having contractors and not being
I think that you always have to look at, first off, you are always going to get people who are like, hey, wait a minute, you didn't come to you didn't plow the side streets fast enough. But I think overall, I was happy to get a lot of good feedback yesterday from people. But again, it's all about, it goes back to your question about, violence, right? It all depends on the person's experience. Because if you're on a side street where somebody may not have moved their car like they were supposed to, and a plow truck couldn't get down it, you're not happy. And there are a lot of situations like that in Rochester because the city has so much parking on the streets, and a lot of people don't follow the rules. So if a plow truck is coming and they can't come, it has to then wait for that car to be moved in order for them to be able to do that. And who does it affect? The homeowner. So it's important to do that. But we did our best, and I think that you will see at least the main arterials. I think we give that an A+. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, everybody. And I'm sure I'll be seeing some of you soon. Thank you.